So good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time to join us today. What I thought we would do, and Shoshana, if this is okay with you, just give a couple of minutes for an update on what's been happening with the advocacy efforts. And then we want to do a quick little poll. And then from there, the rest of the time will be for Flipgrid. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So Renee, can I put you on the spot to tell us some of what's been happening with the advocacy efforts? Oh, you're on mute.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. Just want to update you on some of the things that we're doing in terms of advocacy and where things are at. We have all 4 letters. This is going to sound so silly, but we have them all with all of the signatures and formatted, which took quite some time. It was one of those things where, you know, when you put in your email and you put your information in real quick, any typo, we had to fix it. So we did our best. On each of the lists, there was maybe like 1 or 2 names we only had partial information for, so we had to pull those off. But the rest of them, quite compelling, especially when we look at the mentor letter. You know what, can I share real quick?
Yeah.
Let me, okay, sorry. I wasn't planning to share it, so I don't have it prepped, but our mentor letter has literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of signatures. And so it is quite compelling when you see it. So I'm going to attempt right now. Here we go. Okay, so just so you guys have a visual, here we've got the letter. And then once you get to the bottom of it, here's all of us. So just take a look. Pages and pages and pages. Here's the best part about this, everybody. This advocacy, all of these advocacy letters have representation from our community college system, from our CSU system, from the UC system, from nonprofits that are related to education, and there's even at least 1 or 2 K-12 partners on each one of the letters. So, like, this is a really inclusive advocacy effort. So here's where we're at. Advocacy letter 1, which was about the mentor program, went out on this past Sunday. Just so everybody on the call right now knows, all the advocacy is coming from my direct email. And so once I started sending it out, I started getting concerned about becoming white noise if I sent them too quickly. So Rachel and I talked, and we did we kind of brainstormed about what would be most efficient. So this is what we've done. So on Sunday, we sent out the mentor program letter, and that went out to representatives in each one of our systems. So it went out to our chancellor, Eloy Oakley, in our system. It went out to Vice Chancellor Shinny Weber in our system. It went to Governor Newsom. It went to Ben Cheetah, who's one of Newsom's senior people. It went to Tony Thurman. It went to Sarah Neville Morgan, that are both from Department of Education. It went to the Early Childhood Education Policy Council and all the members in that group. It also went to Chancellor Tim White from the CSU system. So that was first round on Sunday. Now, we already heard back from somebody at the chancellor's office there's somebody who wants to talk to us about what's going on to get a better idea, which is exactly what we were hoping for. But with the mentor letter, we're really hoping that CDE is the group at CDE and or Newsom are the people that we get to talk to, because those are the people that will financially be able to help us get what we need in terms of the mentor program. The second advocacy letter that went out was the raw footage letter, and that went out yesterday, Tuesday, and that went out to almost the same exact group, with the exception that I did not send it to the CSU system because I felt like it was more Newsom, our system, and CDE, and also the Early Childhood Policy Council. The next letter that will go out tomorrow is the electronic assessment tools letter. And then we have decided that we are going to pull back on the 4th letter because, as I mentioned before, we don't want to be white noise. And so the 3rd letter will go out tomorrow. And then we're hoping that people will want to meet and start having discussions. Now, one thing that Rachel and Deanna probably are not going to talk about, but I just have to hit on real quickly, is we've written, I shouldn't say we, Deanna and Rachel wrote a white paper. I'm helping with the editing, but in terms of the content, they knocked it out of the park. And so we have a white paper that is in process right now. And so after the third letter goes out, then the white paper that synthesizes all of the advocacy efforts will then go out to the same entities. And then, and please know on every time that we've sent this out, that not just includes all of our names, but it says, please contact us. And it's my name, my phone number, and all my contact info. And so we're just hoping that they reach out to us. But like I mentioned, the Chancellor's Office already has somebody that's following up. And so, and that was when only the first letter went. So anyways, it's an exciting time. We need everyone to continue advocating at your local level, both at your college and at your regional level. That is essential right now, especially as different areas are making decisions about their strong workforce funding and some other pots of money. There's like COVID response pots and stuff like that. You want to go and say, we need video footage and this is why, and here's this letter, and you want to make sure that all of your leads that you're closest to know exactly what our needs are and are going to be there to advocate for you, because those voices come the next 2-3 weeks will be very, very strong, and there will be monies. We just need some of it to get allocated our way for what we need as a team statewide and a workforce statewide. So Rachel, thank you so much.
I just saw Kate Brown raise her hand.
Renee, you're awesome. And I just sent you something that said, let's look at what the CTC is going to do so that when I meet with them next week, we can advocate that way. I also wanted to just make a quick addition, is that we've put together a letter, just an example, we've put together a letter that we took through our district academic senate and then went to the board last week asking them to do the advocacy. So what I could use from Renee is that list, and the board was very positive about it. They don't know how to write a resolution, but we do. So we said we would draft it for them, which reminds me that Linda, who's such an advocate on the mentor side, is calling for advocacy, and I sent our sample resolution to her so that for that mentor piece to keep it going. So it sounds like the timing would be good for us to try to all do what we can in the next 2 to 4 weeks, which takes us through summer and into fall. Do I have the timing about right on that?
Absolutely, Kate. And there was some concern since budget has already passed at this point, but I'm saying we need to move away from that mindset, because there's monies related to COVID. There's legislation that's coming out. There's going to be opportunity. And so I think advocating right now and through the next month, we need to advocate hard. And these next 2 weeks, any meeting you go to, every meeting you go to, bring it up and weave it into any other story, because we need to prove to everybody that we are essential to California's workforce getting back to work. If they don't have early care and they don't have teachers, I mean, look what's happening right now. We can literally showcase different things that are happening in our communities, and how we have to really have true support from all the systems and throughout, bottom top all the way. So thank you, Kate, and thank you everybody for all your advocacy efforts that you are doing today, and that you will continue to do. I know it can be uncomfortable, but we have privilege and we are at the table and we need to be speaking right now. So please, please, please use your voice. Thank you, everybody.
So with that being said, with the white paper, we have put in data from all the different meetings that we've been having over the summer. We did want to do a touch base with everybody to get a little bit more data. So we're going to launch a quick poll. And basically you've answered these questions in the past. If you've been at these meetings, it's just like doing another check-in about will lab schools be open? Will you be offering practicum? Will you be offering observation? So it should not take more than a minute or so to complete. I'm going to launch it right now. And so we'll take the next couple of minutes to do that. And in the meantime, really quickly, I just wanted to fill people in on another project that I'm working on. This came from our lab school with our mentor teachers. We were going to have them go back into their classrooms, and we were going to videotape them, and I was going to work on interviewing them while they were setting up their classroom, so we could have a library of video of teachers talking through like how they're setting up their classrooms, why are they doing certain things. And I ended up talking to a friend of mine about this, and it is now exploded into, she's bringing me into her lab school with her lab school teachers, and we're going to have video of infant, young toddler, older toddler, preschool teachers being interviewed about how they're setting up their classrooms. And then we are going to be having some Zoom interview meetings with teachers about their teaching experiences. So if you would like to contribute to the questions, or if you know teachers who would be really good for interviewing, please don't hesitate to send them my way, because then we can make this library available for people. So if you want to use it in classes, you're welcome to have that resource available to you. So I see the poll is being conducted or taken. And I believe that was it that we wanted to update people. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Shoshanna, who so graciously volunteered to let us pick her brain in the world of Flipgrid.
Okay, hello, I'm Shoshanna Gratage. I teach at Pierce College and Los Angeles Valley College. And so I was already teaching online before we went remote. So I had already been spending a lot of time working on how to build community in our online classrooms, especially in an asynchronous environment. So that's how I came to using Flipgrid as one of my tools. So Flipgrid is like a video message board. And so it allows us to leave videos back and forth with our students, which really helps to build our relationships because they hear us saying their name. They hear us connecting with them. One of the first things I always do in my courses is have them introduce themselves, and I introduce myself on it. I ask them specifically, tell me how you pronounce your name, because I'm going to be using it. I start every Flipgrid response video that I make for them with their name, and I can actually reference back, which is really convenient, how they said their name in that very first video. If I feel like every once in a while there's that student where I'm like, I know I'm butchering their name. Let me go back and double check before I leave them a response. And after a couple times, I typically get it. But it allows us to communicate with our students in an asynchronous way. So when we're not meeting with them over Zoom, but able to leave the videos back and forth and to have a live discussion, but not live. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how to set it up and how it works. I use Canvas at both of the colleges I teach, so I'm going to show you using that platform. And I know some of you might not use Canvas, but being able to see this as a tool still should be able to help you. It'll show you how to use Flipgrid outside of Canvas too. But if it's integrated into another LMS, this should still help you to find the tools that you need to be able to set it up. So the first thing I want to show you that is really important is how are you going to find this information again if you are using Canvas, because it is tricky the first time, and I definitely needed to review a few times. So I'm giving you the link in the chat box right now back to this page. And this is the Canvas Lti integration with Flipgrid. And so it walks you through step by step how to integrate it, because it is tricky. It's a little bit more involved than some of the other external apps that we use with our learning modules. So it's important that you have this information and reference back every time you use it for the first few times, because I forgot, and I'm sure many other people will. It is tricky those first few times. So I'm gonna now show you. So this is just a step-by-step, and with any learning module that you're using, you should be able to Google Flipgrid and then if you're using Moodle or Blackboard or something else, you should be able to look for the same thing. So you do have to go to Flipgrid before you set it up and set up under educator sign up. I'm not going to click on that right now because I'm already logged in. Use your email address you use with your Canvas and set up an account for yourself here. And it is important that you do this before you try to integrate it into Canvas or another learning module. And then once you log in, this is where it starts getting confusing because it says add a new grid. That is only if you're not using Canvas. You can use it for all sorts of things. Like at my children's school, the principal was doing like a doodle back and forth where she would give us like a little prompt and everyone would draw. And so she was using it just separate. So people can use it for other functions also. All educators give free account. So there are different ways you can make a grid for yourself outside of your learning module, which you would click on there. But if you're going to integrate it, you click on integrations. And you also are going to go, so since it's a new semester, I actually can walk you right through it because I haven't set up this one for the fall yet. So you go to your Canvas. So this is one of my courses this coming fall. Settings. Then your apps. So here is where you would typically put in any app that you have. And just type in Flipgrid and add app. And then this is where you panic because you haven't gone to Flipgrid first usually, at least if you're me. So you go back here to your integrations. Add new integration. So this, add a name. So I usually just copy my course name. Create, and then it's going to give you your consumer code and your shared secret. And so that's the part that's trickiest with integrating it into Canvas. And so it's important that you remember that and do that properly because that's the only way to get it into your speed grader, which is going to make your life so much easier. And then do not add it to your navigation because that will actually confuse students. What you will do is whenever you create an assignment, you're going to add your assignment I'm going to show you what they'll look like in a minute through an external tool. And I always click load this tool in a new tab because so this is one of the offered apps already in LACCD. So this is one, I just was able to do it right now. Flipgrid is free for all educators. Microsoft bought it a while ago and decided to make it free for all educators. And so then this would be an assignment that I'm gonna go delete later, and you load in a new window. So for the first time you open a course, you're always gonna click create a course grid, and that's not gonna show up anymore after that. So this is, so I saw in the chat that Rose said that she doesn't think we can add apps in our LACCD anymore. So this is one that was already integrated into our Canvas for us because the colleges I teach at are in LACCD, both of them.
Thank you.
So I think you should be able to. Adding an app outside of what they have offered, I think is the issue. But as far as I know, the apps that they offer integrated into our Canvas, we are allowed to use. So this is your assignment. I'm going to tell you how you set it up right now and what I have been using it for. I'm sure there's a lot of other ways, but here you just click on and you can edit your question. I typically put my question here in the assignment and then just copy and paste it right over here also. And so what types of assignments do I personally use it for? Well, I use it for discussions. Our introduction to each other is one that I always start with. And then it depends on if the class is synchronous or asynchronous. So the classes that we have Zoom meetings that are synchronous, I use it differently than I do for the classes that are asynchronous. But I still utilize it in both when we are meeting only remotely. I did not use it in my face-to-face classes though, but you could.
Yeah, there you go.
So I used it for my synchronous classes for circle time. I was teaching curriculum, so I used it for circle time, and my students actually did their circle time, which they would have had to do live in class. On here, you can go and your recording time, you can change up to 10 minutes. Now, I do want to remind you, depending on what you are using it for, you want to make sure that it's only the amount of time you are willing to watch. So for circle time, that's one of their major assignments towards the end. I did watch a 10-minute one for every single student, but for a discussion, you don't want to put 10 minutes because even when they're a minute and a half responses, you'll be shocked at how long it takes you to watch every single video and then respond, because I do respond to every student's post. And like I said, I respond thoughtfully with their name back. And so that helps to make these frequent connections. I don't do them every single week. In an online only class that's asynchronous, I would do them. Some weeks I'll do it multiple weeks in a row. Sometimes it's every few weeks, alternating with discussion boards and with blog posts that I have them do, so that I have some sort of direct connection outside of our other assignments with every student about the content every single week. But that it's not always going to be a Flipgrade, because if I have them, for example, I was showing you, I have right here in my observation assessment class, there are weeks where the grading is really heavy and there's a lot of information and there would be no time to watch all of the Flipgrid videos also. So I make sure to look at what we're doing each week and have it well balanced. And so you can set your recording time here. So I do 10 minutes for their circle time. And one of the good things is it cuts them off, which I really loved, because when we do our circle time live in class, I do have a timer because there's no other way to get through the whole class. And I hate having to stop them. But I do, because there's no other way to get through it. So this stops them. I did have a few people saying to me, why isn't my video uploading? Because you can record it through Flipgrid, directly through the app or your computer, or you can upload, which you see both of those as choices here. And so the students, different ones will use each of those choices. So if they recorded a video in advance and tried to upload it, and it was more than 10 minutes, it won't upload. And so when a student asks me, why isn't it uploading? First thing I would ask them is, can you check your time? Because if you're over time, it won't upload. So if it's a discussion question, I usually give them 1 minute for their initial response, and then responses to each other I give them a minute and a half, and then responses to each other, I'll give them a minute. Sometimes it depends on the question. I'll edit that a little bit. So Flipgrid allows them to go back and forth with each other, having conversations. And so for circle time, it was something that they were very comfortable with. They also were able to record their stories. I can track how many people have watched it, and they can reply to each other with videos, which they really enjoy. And so that's the advantage. I actually made a little sample just so you could see what it looks like. So I have, here's my dashboard with all the recent things that have been going on. And here's my grids. So I didn't want to show you the one with all my live students, so I made one of just myself. So, so pretend that this was my, oh, this isn't the one. Pretend this is my grid for my class. So I didn't want to show you, this live student one. So here's what happens when you click on it. Here's my response video. It just says testing. So, and then, so instead of me, this would be all the different students who replied. So you click reply, and it won't allow me to do it because I have the camera on Zoom right now. But the students reply to each other, and I reply to them also. So you can reply to each other, you can reply to each other's responses. I can see how many times people have watched them. I can watch all of the responses, and we can have a conversation. So I use these 4 discussion questions. I will ask a question like, tell me what the advantages and disadvantages you felt of doing a checklist for an assessment versus an anecdotal report. And I'll have them talk about some of their feelings about it, and then they can reply to each other and add on to the discussion and the conversation. So they can go back and forth. You can limit the viewing to just the instructor. You also can make it so that the responses are not seen until you put them live, so that you have to preview them. But the problem with that is then the students can't see their own response either, and then they will panic sometimes. So for the students to reply in Flipgrid, it does have to be a video. I will sometimes, if a student is having issues with their video, I will offer them an opportunity to be able to, I'll make a little side assignment that's not graded, so I could still put the grade points in the original assignment, and be able to have them respond that way. So I did that. There was only 1 student in all of last semester out of 3 full classes that actually asked for that. The students were very happy to use it. Some of the students were a little nervous about it at first, but then they warmed up and it was really great for them. So it's only video. For you, you can actually write comments here. So you can write written comments instead of giving them a video, but I like to build the relationship with their video. Yes, they can use it on their phone. They do need to download the Flipgrid app. There is a way to do it. So what I have in all of my classes, so this is my week 1 orientation for my online classes. And then for my face-to-face classes, I include this as a module always. So I copy this module. I check all the links every semester. I usually add to it. Sometimes something's new. And I keep this module on every single one of my Canvases, because I use Canvas in every class, regardless of it being face-to-face or online. So the email feedback, that's only if you write it through Flipgrid. I'm going to show you. You can actually also, so when you have your assignments, it will all go into SpeedGrader. And so you can type, so it's going to show me that I have no submissions right now, but this would show the video right here. And then you can write comments here instead of and I would do this. I actually never use the Flipgrid grading. I use the SpeedGrader grading, so everything's integrated into Canvas and there's no issues. So I personally do not use any of this part right here because it causes issues with Canvas. So what I would do then is you can grade and you can put your comments right there into your assignment. And so you don't have to write a video for, you don't personally have to make a video for every response. You can also type it right in SpeedGrader. And so all your videos should be showing up into SpeedGrader. Now, every once in a while, last semester, towards the end of the semester, right around when everyone was high stress, very busy, they sent out an update that messed things up. And then I had to go here and look at my grid. So right now, this would be my grid. So all of my students would show up here. I only did this one just with myself, but there would be a whole list. And so if a student says they turned in the assignment and it's not showing up in SpeedGrader, you can go look here. So usually, so it only happened once to us so far when there was this update that messed up. I contacted them. They said it was a known issue. They fixed it within, I think, 36 hours. So it was pretty quick. And they were actually really great once I responded to them. So this has been really great for using to have conversations, to create discussions, to get to know each other. You know each other's faces. And I feel like that's so important, that we know each other's faces, we see each other, we know each other's names. They get very quickly into the habit of following my lead of responding to each other by name. And that was wonderful. Before COVID, I actually I had a student walk up to me and say, "Hey, you're my instructor for this class," because she ran into me at the college and we knew who each other were right away just from having met each other through Flipgrid. So yes, to post it and show it during breakout groups during Zoom, yes, they can, as long as they have screen sharing. One of the things I did, so when I was holding classes synchronously, so we were having Zoom meetings. If I had some students who were essential workers, couldn't make it to the Zoom meetings once we went remote, but I would post a Flipgrid assignment. I would put no points towards it because the students were presenting over Zoom. But then they would post their video on Flipgrid, and I would go and open it up and play it for the class. And then they were able to present to the class in a video that they had pre-recorded, and it made an easy way for me to be able to access everything. And it was the format we were using for other assignments, so they already knew how to use it. And I feel like the less programs they have to learn and figure out, the better. But this has been really helpful for me to be able to build the relationships with the students and have them feel like they know each other, talk to each other. I love when they're like, especially in the introductions, they'll say things like, "Hey, I had this class with you, remember me?" And then you'll see them responding to each other more and more often. In my asynchronous classes, I do require them to reply to a certain number of people in their classes. I do give them guidance. So when you look here, I have how to use Flipgrid. I also have netiquette, how to use Zoom throughout this. So this is something, I've taken all of these links from the colleges throughout the years. These are, I always have a welcome that's in a video and a letter. And then there's just overviews of how to use Canvas, how to use Zoom, how to use Flipgrid, and internet etiquette. So this gives them guidance for how to respond to each other. I have it written in my syllabus also about having a meaningful response that must address the question. And I will be able to use that for the students. I do have access to previous semesters. I just wasn't sure about having this recorded, about the student privacy issue of being able to show them and what it looked like live. So that was the reason I just made it with myself, just because of the student privacy. And so yes, they are commenting back and forth. Plus, I give feedback on SpeedGrader. I get involved in the discussions. I leave a video feedback. So I personally do not leave a video and a comment. I'll usually just leave a comment and I'll tell them, oh, you brought a really great point, or being able to ask them questions. So these are actually videos from Flipgrid for the instructions on how to use it that the students have. So instead of it being written out, I give them the video of it so that they can follow the video step by step. And I saw there was a raised hand. Rose, what was your question?
I was just concerned about using Flipgrid and grading on Flipgrid, because we have been told to grade in Canvas and to keep everything in Canvas because of the evaluation process, the auditing. And so I was concerned about that, but I feel like you don't grade outside Canvas, you grade with Flipgrid.
Right.
So,
no,
yeah.
I grade in Canvas. I grade through SpeedGrader only.
Yes.
So that way it all shows up.
Right. And then my other question was, how to get, you just answered it, how we get the instructions. People are asking in the,
yeah, I'm gonna put that in the chat right now.
Yeah, okay.
So
Thank
right
you.
now I'm putting, this is one of the ones for the students. I have 2 videos that is just specifically on Flipgrid. The netiquette, I recommend going through and really watching some netiquette videos and finding which one you feel like really speaks to you and your class, and making sure that, okay, that's the same. And making sure that the students have access to that. That's extremely important to give them that guidance. And once they have the guidance, I personally haven't had any issues with them going outside of that, those guidelines. The students have been really supportive and respectful of each other over this. And so I think once they have a little bit of guidance, they know how to give positive strength-based support, even if they disagree with each other. So I've had very good success with that. I do give them a quiz on it. So I always, in my classes, have a quiz about syllabus and about netiquette. And so it just throws in a couple questions. It's a very short quiz. They can take it as many times as they want. For me, the important thing is that they used all the information to learn about netiquette and the syllabus, not that the goal is to grade them. It's really just about how do we make holding them accountable. So those are the videos. Do I see other hands raised?
While you're doing that, Shoshana, this is being recorded and we will be posting it up on the TPP website, and any of the resources Shoshana shares in chat, we will be sending it out to everybody. So you'll all have access to be able to go back and watch this again, because I know I'm going to need to go back to the beginning and figure out integration. And
I know it's a lot of information. So for me, the most important thing is, because you can review all of the integration and the setup, is to really think about how would you use this? What would be a meaningful way for you to use this? And so, so I spend a lot of time really focusing on how am I going to word my questions. One thing I added, I don't even know why I hadn't thought of this originally, is to start having them pose questions to each other, where you can have the assignment say, ask a question about this topic, or give your feeling about this and then ask your classmates a follow-up question, so they can ask each other questions and be leaders in the discussion, and then be having responses to them, having responses to each other. They can also you can put your regular discussion questions that you do face-to-face in class and use those in here. For my curriculum class, I had them do a lot of fun activities, like do a science activity using only things in your house. I was very strict about that because I didn't want people leaving the house and then saying, I got sick for your assignment. So do a science presentation using only things in your house. Read us your favorite children's book, and I allowed them to access it electronically if they need to. So I personally do not watch the videos before they are live for the students to see. For one thing, the students panic about whether or not they're being watched, but whether or not it's there. And then it makes it hard for them to respond to each other. So if a couple students have posted their videos in the middle of the night, and then they want, everything went live at midnight on Sunday night, and they want to be responding to each other, they're not going to be able to access it. I have not had any issues with anyone putting anything in the videos that I felt was not appropriate and needed to be edited or not shown. So because of that, we've been able to just keep them all live. And everyone's, like I said, the netiquette guidelines have been really helpful, because then the students have the videos right away. They have access to it, and I haven't personally had any problems with it. They're able to see the videos right away. And so I have had them record their presentations and give responses and feedback. I did an experiment last semester so in my asynchronous classes, the ones where we do not have Zoom meetings, they were required to respond to each other's discussions and presentations to a certain number of them. However, in the synchronous classes, the ones where we had Zoom meetings, when we also had these video assignments, I wanted them to be really comfortable using it, especially in the classes like curriculum where they were going to have to run a circle time. I wanted to make sure they were comfortable with the format. So that one, I was just doing fun things to get them used to it, so they read their favorite story, they did a science project. I had them do something creative and show us what they did. And that was the first prompt. That was the only first prompt that I gave them, because that was right when we went from face-to-face to remote. And so it was a nice way to help them transition and to make sure they were doing something creative and fun for themselves at home, and to remember that it was timely for what we were learning, but also, and tied into our curriculum, but also was able to help them to relax and have some stress relief and see the value of that. I saw a lot of them getting their children involved in it too. Even if the children were off camera, you'd see the little hands involved, and it helped them also. So they were able to use it and really become comfortable and accustomed to it. And I did not require them to respond to it. Now I can see how many views we have of every video. So if you see right here, it says 9 views. I compared when it was required to when it was not required and how many views we got, and they were exactly the same. The students were equally as likely to watch each other's videos if they had to and reply, and if they did not have to. So it's interesting, because we think about like the curves of tests and how they change, whether it's open book, closed book, online, at home, and the curves stay pretty much the same. And then I found the same thing with the Flipgrid videos of whether or not they were required to watch each other's videos. So even in the synchronous courses where I do not require them to watch the videos, they still watched each other's videos and really enjoyed it. I got a lot of feedback, and they were able to give each other feedback, and they liked watching each other's circle times. Most of them watched all of them, and they were 10 minutes long, and I had not required it at the time, and the vast majority of them still did it. So it was really impressive about that. Yes, you can set due dates. You can close it through Flipgrid, and you can also, so you can close it through Flipgrid, and then you can also close it and have it through your assignments, because you're setting it up as an assignment through Canvas. So just like any other assignment where it no longer is taking assignments and the due date available from and available until, you still set that because you're setting it through Canvas. So Flipgrid does auto closed captioning. I've had pretty good success. You can go back and this is watching my video as if it wasn't me, but and I can't record while I'm on Zoom. But here, I can actually edit even, so I can edit the captions, and it's viewing this as one of my student responses. So not only can I edit my own captions, I could edit a student's captions. If I was going to want to show a Flipgrid to the whole class, I can still access the students' captions and be able to update them. Overall, I found the captions to work pretty well though. So I haven't had to do a lot of editing through it, and it's nice because they are short videos. And so it's really great that they're all auto captioned, and it actually seems to work pretty well. And you can give your students the heads up, hey, look at your captions and make sure everything went through the way you want for your classmates to be able to see also. And then I look at my own also. Okay, any questions?
There's a question about issues with student privacy, recording themselves. Do you have them sign a waiver or statement?
I have not, and I haven't been asked to, but that would be something to ask your higher ups. I was given this as a platform through our online education coordinator, our distance education coordinator, and I was not given a wording, and she's usually excellent about giving me wording whenever necessary. And so that would be something to ask your distance education coordinator about at each of your individual colleges.
And then you had a question about how large is your typical class where you have circle time assignments?
40 people. I had 40 people in that class. That class, I think by the time we got to circle time, we were down to 35 because I actually lost less people when we went remote than I do in a regular class. It was very interesting. So when we do it in class, they do it as pairs. And I found that to be really difficult. I did a couple like experiments of activities and presentations with pairing up people, and it was very challenging. So I had them do it individually. It did take a long time to grade, but it was very valuable. And even the minute and a half discussions do take a long time to grade. So when you are setting up your syllabi, you want to look at all of your classes, and you don't want to put all of your classes having a Flipgrid discussion the same weeks, because I do the first week because everyone's doing introductions, but after that, trying to stagger them a little bit with discussion board discussions and blog posts and different things. Students can, someone put in the chat, students can use features in Flipgrid to pixelate their faces. They can use emojis. There's a lot of different options that they can use. And Flipgrid's really user-friendly with all of the different options. So that is a choice for you to use also.
There was a question about you had demonstrated it as an assignment. Can you set it up for a discussion board?
So I use it as a discussion board, and you can name it whatever you want to name it. So it won't show up here as under the discussions. I have my discussion board discussions there, but they are, when I set up my assignments, this is not fully set up for this semester. It would say, I would separate it out and it would say Flipgrid discussions right here. And so I would put this as saying Flipgrid discussions, and I do separate them out as different types of discussions on this page so they can see them all separately. And I can see them all separately, because then I know if students are having issues responding to something, or if they're like skipping all the Flipgrid assignments. Then I haven't had someone do that, but if they were doing that, I would reach out to them and say, you know, is there an issue? Is there something I can help you with? Is there some sort of accommodation that you need? Do you need help with pixelating your face or something like that? But I actually found I had students who had taken my classes face to face and never spoke unless they were specifically told, you are talking right now, who then got on Flipgrid and were super chatty. It was great. So I really love to see that, how some of the students who are very, very shy in a face-to-face class come alive over Flipgrid. And the ones who were hesitant on Flipgrid as a platform, it usually only lasted 1 or 2 assignments. And that's why I gave them some that were really just about getting comfortable. And then by the time the assignments got heavier, they were all comfortable. A lot of them said, I hated that you asked us to do this, and I loved it once we started doing it. So it was really great to see that. To see how the students were able to feel comfortable. In the circle time, the students were very nervous, but they are face-to-face also, and I actually found them to be more comfortable. It's unfortunate because the quality of circle time is better face-to-face because we all sing together, we lead each other in circle time, and so the part that makes them more comfortable is also the part that they're losing out on that experience that they would need for being more ready for their jobs and for a classroom. Okay, I saw there were some hands.
Michelle had some questions about language, and I thought it'd be nice if she could chime in on the information she was wanting.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. I just wondered how you worded the assignment on Flipgrid. Like, were you asking, please, like you would a discussion board post, please, you know, substantially respond to 2 people, blah, blah, blah,
Yes.
as far as considering the grading. I just wanted to know how you worded it.
I did. So I would ask them, here's your discussion question. Please give your initial response. And I usually give them a time limit. So everything goes live Sunday at midnight. I ask them, please give an initial response by Wednesday. And then please give 2 more responses to your classmates by Sunday at midnight or 11:59 p.m. Make sure that your responses are substantial and that they address the question directly. And then I would hold them accountable for that. And it was very rare that a student, sometimes at the beginning, if I find the class is struggling with it, I'll let them make it up. I'll say, okay, I'll give them an extra reading and say, okay, read this, add to it, and then try the discussion questions again. I do have it in my syllabus and every assignment, the instructions. So we start with it right from the beginning. The instructions are in the syllabus. They're in that orientation, and then they are in every single assignment of how you respond. I do have a statement about that we don't share videos of the class outside of the class. I have that for my classes that we use Zoom also. I feel like that's really important in this online world. And so, and I like to put in my welcome video some information like that, and in my welcome letter also. So I do share that with them. And then in the grading, I'm clear, like most of them, if it's a discussion question, it depends on the scale of the class, but say it's 5 points. I'll give them 3 points for their initial response, and then a point for each of the 2 follow-up responses for the first one and the second one. So it depends on the response and the scale of the class, but that's an example. If it's a 5-point assignment, there'll be a portion that's aligned towards their initial response and a portion aligned towards each of their responses, because sometimes they do put out their initial response and they forget to respond to their classmates.
Do you feel that the length of the what was I going to say? The length of the response, instead of just giving a thumbs up or anything like that, do you get that often?
Well, they have to reply in video a 1-minute response. So they have timed responses, and then I watch them and I'll say, this didn't, it's very rare that this happens. There was 1 or 2 students though that just initially didn't get it. And so I would give them the feedback. I wouldn't give them the points. I give them the feedback. This didn't address the question we're asking. And so that was a not, so then they typically, they very quickly would. As far as I know, they can, the students cannot download the video to their computer, only I can, as far as I know. Because I saw that being asked. And I know there were more hands up.
Let's see.
I have a question.
Sure.
And I'm just having, I think this is all great. I'm just having trouble sort of, so when you put up the assignment and you can of course see it in the speed grader, where do students see each other's responses? Do they have to go to Flipgrid outside of Canvas?
So it pops up as Flipgrid. Yeah. So when load, it would say the name of the assignment. I just happened to name it test, that it's testing, not an actual exam. It pops up for them in Flipgrid. Okay. Just like this. So they have a whole grid here of each other's when it shows up. So
okay, they
see this also.
Okay.
So this is mine, and they see it. They would see each other's. And then they can, when they click on it, they click on my video. Right here, this little bubble is how they reply to each other.
Okay.
And they record a video. It's the same way that you reply. So your face and your little video ends up right here mixed up with theirs. So if they were watching the videos, they could scan for your face to watch just your response to them, or they could watch all of them. Most of them watch all of them. It's really interesting on how they add to each other and point out information, and to see them going back and forth. It's been, they really have been very thoughtful about it. I find when it's recorded on video like this, the students tend to put a lot of effort because of the recording, and they know that it's there for everyone to see, and they tend to put a lot of effort into their responses because of it. Do I activate the videos at the very beginning to let everyone see before they post their own? So they are automatically activated. You don't have to do it that way. You can make it so you reply one at a time. When it's something that I really want them to be able to not be able to see each other's responses, I typically use a discussion board for it. One of the benefits of having them watch each other's videos before they reply is you don't see them saying the same things over and over again. You tend to see them adding to it. So by being able to watch each other's videos before they reply, they tend to add to the discussion and go deeper rather than just copying over each other's information. So I actually find a benefit as a discussion of being able to watch each other's videos, because you really do want them to add to each other and learn from each other. So I don't see this as quizzing them on the material, but really as a discussion where they're adding to information with each other. And because that's the purpose of it, I don't have any problem with them watching each other's videos, and actually I'm hoping that they're watching each other's videos.
Somebody asked if you'd be willing to share your statement or in your syllabus that you put.
So what my recommendation is for that is to reach out to your distance education coordinator, because that each of the colleges typically want something very specific. Even teaching at 2 different colleges within the same district, I find the wording can be different. And so I find it's always best to just send them a quick email and say, do you have wording for this? And 99.9% of the time they'll say, here it is. And then that 0.1%, they'll say, give me a minute, and then you get it a few minutes later. So I would go straight to your distance education coordinators and ask at every single college separately, because I teach at 2 colleges and my statements are slightly different for each college based on what guidance I've been given by the college.
And will you talk about how, because you had mentioned a while ago, you use this in curriculum class.
Yes.
And you had students creating like a board for parents.
Yes. So I had them practice. If they were going to do a Zoom class for your students at home, because so many of our preschools are doing that right now. Our early childhood centers are doing this. I had them practice doing that, and I showed them, I had a couple of videos that I showed them of that. So I was able to have them do a circle time. So they did a circle time altered for the digital world, and we're able to do it that way. And how do you introduce so it wasn't just sitting there and talking, it was how are you going to create participation with the children who are at the other end, and introduce activities and invite them to participate. So we talked a lot about that. I had them do curriculum presentations over Flipgrid also. So they were showing us science activities and art activities and different creative activities that they were able to do. And so for those, I actually gave them a little bit more time than just the minute and a half, because that's rushed, and allowed them to tell us a little bit about an activity and show it to us. And so that's a way where they can be presenting curriculum and sharing curriculum with each other in an asynchronous format.
Let's see. And we had, oh, somebody wanted to know which colleges you're teaching at.
I teach at Los Angeles Pierce College and Los Angeles Valley College. I've been there a while now at both of them. So both are in the Los Angeles Community College District here in the San Fernando Valley.
Any other questions or thoughts of how you might use this in your classrooms?
Yeah, I would love to hear ideas of what other people think they would want to do with it also, and how they would use it, because I'm always trying to grow and build on it. It wasn't till towards the end of the semester that I thought about having them ask each other questions. I was like, it made so much sense. Why did it not pop into my mind before? So I would love to hear if anyone has any ideas on how to use it.
Monica says that she taught CD7 last semester and the students loved it to present their lesson plans. She had just forgotten how to set up the grid.
Well, I'm glad now you can remember. Like I said, it was the same thing. I had set it up for my online only class at the beginning of the semester, and then we went remote 6 weeks later, and I had already forgotten and had to look it up myself. But then once I got it a few times, I had it set. But they really loved being able to present their activity plans over it. They had a really good time, and it was so important because it was a way to bring that hands-on aspect back to the classes. And the first time I did it, I gave them a list of activities. I didn't even make them come up with their own activities, because in class, I would be setting out hands-on activities all over the classroom. And we would do them and talk about them, my activities. So I did that over Flipgrid, where I said, here's a list of activities, pick one of these and do it over Flipgrid for us, and then let's talk about it. And that was a really great experience, even when they didn't have to present their own activity plans, but just to be able to go through the hands-on experience of doing the activities that we would do in class, because it's not all their activities in class. When we're face-to-face, we spend a lot of time with my activities and them being able to get to know the activities before they're starting to do their own activities. So I found it extremely beneficial for them to be able to do the activities over video, and then be able to talk about them before they were designing their own activity plan. So it allowed me to bring that hands-on component that I would have given them back to their home. Those were the ones where I saw a lot of the little hands popping in, where they may have had their children across the way, which I felt was a wonderful experience for them, especially while a lot of people were feeling very unsettled with having their children's school ending so abruptly, and moving remotely so abruptly. And so they really enjoyed it and had fun. You saw them relaxing and playing, and so many of them had to do that. And I make sure that they do that in my face-to-face classes. And this gave me the opportunity to make sure they were doing it in an online environment also, that the hands-on component was there, that they were playing, they were having fun, that they really were able to get the essence of what I was trying to teach them about curriculum.
So some of the other comments that people have been saying is thinking of using it to do peer reviews of lesson plans, content presentations, mentor teachers who are ready, have virtual mentees and have weekly discussions with them. I think a list of choose an activity on Flipgrid would be helpful, like junk drawer math, reading books. Are students able to present PowerPoints, for example, on Flipgrid? That was a question asked.
So what my students did, they held their PowerPoints behind them. So I haven't tried screen sharing. There's a lot of options in it that I haven't personally tried yet. And I know there's more that I haven't done, and I encourage you to play with it, but I was really trying to keep it simple because I want all students to feel successful. So the students who did PowerPoints, they had some sort of other device, whether it was printed out and holding their PowerPoint up, because the students who used the PowerPoint in my classes last semester, it was all students who were supposed to give a presentation, would have given it over Zoom, couldn't make it to the Zoom because of what their job was or other responsibilities, and were pre-recording their presentation. So they would have a laptop next to them, a tablet, their phone, because then they can move the phone nice and close so it shows up big, or a paper, and they were able to hold the presentation next to themselves while they were presenting, and were able to do it that way.
Jean suggested in Principles and Practices, she's going to use it for theorist presentations.
I love that.
History of VCE. I was thinking I'm going to also build in Principles and Practices as we cover different topics, because they're writing their teaching philosophy. Do like a philosophy check-in after we cover a unit, and they record bits of their philosophy so then they can compile that.
I think that's a great idea.
I'm using it for introduction discussions and for feedback on reading stories and preschool activities. I've had the aha moment of pre-recording on Zoom and then uploading it to Flipgrid. Thank you.
Yeah, some of the students really liked pre-recording and uploading. Some of them liked recording within the app. I personally record within the app just because I didn't want to do an extra step, but it works perfectly well either way most of the time. there was one student who had trouble with it, and then she ended up holding her pre-recorded video on her phone in front of the computer on Flipgrid and re-recording it on Flipgrid, but she made it work. They are creative, and I think it's good for them. That's one of the reasons I like to put up the video and the instructions and just let them be with the instructions, because they do need the independence. And so with problem solving, they are actually very creative about it.
Anyone else have any thoughts or ideas?
Jody, I see your hand.
Thank you. I couldn't figure out how to do the raise the hand thing. I was clicking.
Okay.
I'm thinking, so I teach fieldwork. I have actually 3 sections because I'm the lab instructor for 3 sections, or the lecture instructor for 3 sections and the lab instructor for 1. So we're thinking of doing it as like a final presentation. So they've already been assigned their micro teaching activities. They've already got them all perfect with our feedback, and we're thinking of letting them do one, like their favorite one, as a Flipgrid. So when you were talking about having them do it as if they were doing it as a Zoom for the children, do you have them do like an introduction first, like, okay, for the parents, so that they have an idea as to what the children would be doing, or you just have them straight do it as if they're talking to the children?
I had them just do it as if they were talking to the children. Because I wanted them to practice talking to the children within this format. But there's a lot of different ways you could do it. It's not that I necessarily did it right or wrong. That's just the way that I wanted to practice it with them.
Okay, that's what we were thinking, because we want them to have the practice, because they're missing out. Ours do 93 hours in the center, and it's not open, so they're really missing out on how to present an activity. So we were thinking if we let them do their favorite, at least they'd be more excited about it than if we picked one for them.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that's true, that the more choice they have, the more invested they are. Definitely.
Okay, thank you so much for this help.
Of course. Thank you.
There was another comment about some students had trouble integrating Flipgrade into Canvas when they were using their mobile devices, and they just reminded the students to download the app first.
Yeah, so they do sometimes need the reminder to download the app. If they're using a mobile device, they don't have to use a mobile device. If they're using a laptop, then it becomes a non-issue because it's all integrated. But like I said, on my laptop's older, so this is probably why. When I showed you, I have it load in new window. Load in a new window, because, and that was one of the assignment settings, because my laptop personally, the submit button ends up going off on the bottom and I can't click submit. And maybe they fixed it since then. That was a long time ago, and I just got into the habit of always loading in a new tab afterwards. You can load it within Canvas in the same tab, and that is a possibility also. And like I said, my laptop's older, but many of theirs are too. So this is how I was able to do this workaround, is just this one little loading in a new tab.
So I just put in the chat box. I was asked for the website where this recording will be held. I just put that in the chat box. I'm also right now putting in the ECE Faculty Collective website in the chat box. The address has changed slightly because I bought the domain, but if you have it bookmarked under the other domain, it will work on the website. So we can also link this video at that website as well under the tools section or tutorial section, so you have access to that there. So you have access to both of those websites in the chat box, and I'll send these out as well to everybody who's participating and on our mailing list. So if you know friends and family who, or not family maybe, but if you know people who want to learn about this, you'll have that information you can share with them. Anything else? Can we give a big round of applause to Shoshanna for all of her?
Thank you.
We are working on our next coffee chat. The request has been on Google and attacking the beast known as Google. So we're working on putting together a coffee chat around that.
It was me. I have officially admitted I need help with Google. I think it's important that we can be open with our insecurities. And yesterday I shared with Rachel, I'm like, I have all sorts of gaps because when I was at Canyons, I had a great support team that enabled me to keep some of my gaps. And so now I need to get some help. So anybody else, when we need help, we're the group to go to. And even if it's like us, like asking, just know that it's okay. So Rachel, thanks for being responsive to my ask on this one. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Plus, there's a lot of Google Classrooms and techniques and tips that are being shared on Facebook that I think there's so much I want to learn that I haven't even learned yet. I know I got really excited the other day when I watched a tutorial on how to create a Bitmoji classroom. So now I have like 5 Bitmoji classrooms and I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but so we're happy to be responsive to whatever needs you have. If you're saying that you need training, we can work on tracking people down that can help us with that. Like Shoshanna was so great, or we're so grateful that she was willing to come today and share her skills with us.
Rachel, you mentioned the CTC meeting in the chat box. Can you mind mentioning it out loud to everybody too?
Yes. So we were just asked by Kathleen White, no, not Kathleen White. We were just asked to share this information. The CTC August meeting, I put in information that was shared to me. You're welcome to log in to listen and comment on the meeting. There is the link that I've included. It's also on the ECE Faculty Collective website. So if you didn't see it in chat, we'll send it out with the information that's going out from here today. And then we'll keep it on the ECE Faculty Collective website. So there is that. I don't have too much information about that. Gina says she wants a Bitmoji training. I will be happy to show you what I've done. We could do that as a whole other training too. Let's see. I'm looking through comments. Bitmoji classrooms are the best. Facebook has a great support group. We have so many things that we want to learn. I think we're going to be very busy in the next month.
Also, Rachel, let me give a quick plug. The EDU Community of Practice is meeting this Friday. So if anybody's interested in EDU and wants to be part of that community practice, you can shoot me an email at any time and I'll make sure that you're added to our list. And I will put my email in the box right now. But both groups of both of our COPs are entirely inclusive. And so if you have any colleagues that would like to be involved, we are happy for everybody to be included.
And if you have any ideas of things that you would want for a coffee chat, go ahead and you can put those ideas in the box as well. And we'll be using those to kind of launch our future endeavors. Anything else?
We're early. That never happens.
I know.
But I'm sure everybody's also really preoccupied with everything going on with the school year and getting everything going. So we deeply appreciate your time and being here today and just bringing our community together. Did you want to do any update about our meeting yesterday that we had with Peach and Tri-C ECE, or would it be best to wait till a future coffee chat or COP to discuss that?
I think once we establish a little more information, that would probably be better to share then.
Okay.
But what was I going to just share? I just had a thought and it flew out of my head. I can't think of it. So if I do think of it, I will include it in the email that comes out with all the resources from today's meeting. Oh, if you have any teachers who you think would be amazing at being interviewed, please send them my way. We are going to be either doing like Zoom interviews, or if it's local, I can socially distance, go in a classroom and videotape, so we can build up this library of teachers sharing their words of wisdom. And if you have interview questions that you want to hear information from teachers, I would love to collect that. We've got a list going of questions, and I would love to add any questions that you would have for teachers to share their insights onto that list. So go ahead, you're welcome to respond to me with that as well.
Also, Rachel, there was a question about if outsiders are allowed at Peach meetings, and I would, can you answer? Because I feel like there's some meetings that are open and some meetings that are members only, I believe, but I don't want to misspeak.
I think that's the same. I know LA has a collective group, but I'm not going to speak too much to that. Are there any Peach meeting or Peach people?
I know I'm scanning through to see if there's any Peach leads on right now, and I'm not sure there are.
I think they have a meeting right now, which is why they're not on.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can make sure that we check in with Peach to see about what meetings will be open to everybody, and then we can make sure that we share that through the community and put it up. We are working with Peach and Tri-C ECE to try to align calendars to make sure that we don't have overlap, because we know a lot of people want to be involved in all organizations. So we want to support that.
Yeah. On the faculty, the EC Faculty Collective, we've actually just established a calendar on there under the training section, and we're going to start inputting all the dates for all these kinds of meetings on that calendar so that we don't have crossover of different meetings. So you'll be able to go there as a resource. And if you have any resources you want to include on the EC Faculty Collective, send them my way and I will be happy to include them. I've got a whole bunch of resources I've pulled from the distance education group on Facebook that I'm going to upload. But there's a lot more out there, I know, in this world that I would love to. If you have access to things you'd want to share, please don't hesitate to reach out and share that, and we'll put it up on the website. And I'll put my email in the chat box, so if anybody wants to email me information about teachers or anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay. With that being said, I'll hang on here if you want to hang out and chat. Thank you again, Shoshanna, for everything that you did for us today. If you have a skill that you want to share, please don't hesitate to reach out. We would love to have you be a guest speaker. So please reach out, and if there's nothing else, I'll hang out, but we can officially call it the end of a meeting. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
And thank you, everybody, for being here today.
Thank you.
I had a question, if I may. Trying to remember where and how to get to the video that talked about using OER, and I was able to use Jennifer Paris's book this summer, and loved having that resource for my students so that they didn't have to buy a textbook. And so I would like to do that again with the Principles and Practices class that I'm teaching at through DVC, Diablo Valley. And but I've forgotten, you know, comes in the head and it goes out of the head. So I think you guys did a video on that, and then you had recorded that. So
so are you looking for
I'm looking for an OER Principles and Practices book.
Okay, so let me show you. I'm going to share my screen. Because like I said, we've had so many resources shared, I just put them all in one place. So on the Faculty Collective, I just linked directly to Jennifer's work because it's already incredibly amazing. And so you can find it here where you can link to the ECE Google groups that she has so beautifully collaborated on. And so there's the Principles and Practices group. And then what I also did on the faculty website, the collective, is under early childhood courses for Principles and Practices. I linked you directly to that one section.
Oh,
So
excellent. So okay, so I can go to the faculty website and be able to find that under courses.
you can either
And
find it
then,
under courses or under ZTC and OER. And they will take you
okay.
directly to Jennifer's resources. I can't tell you how many times I was struggling to try and figure out where did those resources go that Jennifer had. And so I put that link right there for you so you could be able to go and do the same thing. And we've had a few people add a couple of different resources. So like I had found, I put in the NAYC DAP position statement. Somebody gave me an article on play in the early years. So whenever I get resources from other people, I just drop them in where they think that it would go best.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate that. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, the names. I started having I had to question myself for a minute because what I'm going to do is talk to somebody who is part of what's called the steering committee for the mentor program, and then have her ask, because if I ask, it's really unethical because we don't like to do anything with the mentors where they're not being paid. And we're out of contract right now. So there is nothing to pay them, but people also love doing things for free. And I know that, but I can't ask them that.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and talk with Catherine, and then I have your email address, rajohnson@bccd.edu. And I'm going to let a few of them talk. And is it a live interview? Is it a written interview?
We were doing video interviews, so they can be shared.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought it would be nice for us. I mean, I had to put it together originally just because I was being selfish with my students and trying to figure out how I was going to teach Eckers. And so that's where this came from. So it's just going to be like a video interview, and we can get in. I was thinking we could either do a Zoom panel, or we could get into like a one-on-one, or they could even videotape themselves and send it to me. So we can be flexible with however we want to make it, or whatever works best for them.
Okay, so that's some of the group that I was thinking of, and there are I think 6. There's 10 members on that thing, but there are about 6, maybe 7 members that are active or would have the time. I think it'd be more like 6 because one's in the middle of her doctoral dissertation. So I will go ahead and talk to her and have her contact you, and then I'll be out of it, and it'll be good.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Thank you.
Okay, Rachel. Thank you so much for today, and thank you everybody for all the advocacy efforts.
Oh, you're welcome. I just am so excited about where this has gone in the world, and it's so exciting to see just everybody come together. I mean, it's the end of July, and we had 48 people who felt it was important to be here today.
It
just makes me happy.
Well, it was a great, I'm looking forward to playing with that. And it's just good to get new information and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And that'll help us be more effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And unless you have anything for me, I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Rachel, it's Kate.
Hi, Kate.
I think once Christy starts working through the steering committee, I think that, and the fall semester begins, the mentor program has 1 year left at least. And I know that there may be some mentors from individual groups who would be willing and interested in participating. And I think that would be awesome because they're fabulous. I just wanted to tell you, you and Renee are just transforming how we're getting together. And it gives me the chills because we have such a history and tradition of being underserved and undernoticed. that we can get a little bit of a chip on our shoulder and then just give up and get kind of cranky. And you guys have really helped pull this together. This is the unexpected opportunities that we've had with COVID that can change what we're doing. And I'm working with Patty, and she's going to help me transform the Practicum into something that actually, regardless of what happens with COVID, I think will be more reflective, more interactive, and give more feedback around people's beginning teaching experiences than ever before. So I'm pretty excited.
I love that passion.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's real. I mean, we have the opportunity as professors to go in and see people while they teach. But hey, Patty, but there's so much more that could happen in these opportunities. Yeah, it's exciting.
I like the idea of videotaping the mentor teachers, because that would just give us more fuel as we're doing additional advocacy this year. And I've got to be really honest with everybody who's on right now. If we can save anything, we can save mentor. There's no reason why we can't get people to give us that amount of money. I'm sorry. If we're looking for $100 million, that's a different battle. This is not that big of that amount of money. And so in the next couple, we need to get commitments, or we need to find other organizations outside of our education systems if needed. I think our system should fund. So I don't necessarily think that we need to go out to, private nonprofits and whatnot. But if by December we're not seeing the traction we need from CDE and the community college system, then maybe we start going out to Packard and some of the other groups, and we just make it more broadly known what the need is and that our systems are letting us down. I mean, I hate to be so crude about it, but the reality is mentor programs should not, this is not the time. It's not the time.
No. And I keep thinking, the one thought that keeps coming to my head is in a teacher's entire career, this is 3 months of their entire career of being a teacher. So if they don't get to experience a temper tantrum in 3 months, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. But if I can help my students at a deeper level really understand like the foundation of why children are misbehaving in a classroom and what are their goals of that misbehavior, and how do you as a teacher intentionally, like if we can have those really deep conversations when they come to that child who's having a temper tantrum, I think they're going to be able to be more responsive to that. And so Kate, your passion just like feeds what I'm feeling, that I think that this is such an amazing opportunity to go even deeper with our students than we had ever thought to go before.
Yeah.
Or that we could have ever gone before, because we had so many other things like art activities and this and that, and we had so many other things we had to do. And we really get into the pedagogy of teaching, and I just get excited about that.
I think we're more connected right now, though. Like our students are going to have access to more experts than they've ever had before. Because you think about all the process and procedures that we had to deal with when we're on our individual class or individual campuses, and we're just trying to have one guest speaker. You know what I mean? Think about all the red tape that goes into that. You bring this online, suddenly it's so different in terms of access and accessibility. And I know like in the EDU COP, we're worried about the students having access to credentialed teachers. So our leadership team said, why doesn't leadership team create a series of videos for all of us that are credentialed? Like I'm a credentialed teacher and principal. Why aren't I doing some videos for them? You know what I mean? And so I love that we're approaching education so differently that there's going to be no matter what happens moving forward, there's going to be so many gold nuggets in this moment, this revolution that we're in. I just feel so lucky. I feel lucky that we're in it. I mean, I know it's hard and there's disequilibrium, but what comes out of this, it's going to be a full shift, and it's the shift that we've needed. So there's a lot of gold in it.
Yeah,
Well,
I think so. I know that to kind of wind back around to where we have, if we're pushing on multiple fronts, just like when someone talks about you when you're not there and you talk to them when you are there, there's a sense of that it's broader than people realize. And I think that that's what we're like the piece with CTC, Renee. I mean, that's a little piece, but it's another piece.
Yes.
And then ECE gets the same flexibilities that the K-12 gets for last spring and then for this year. And then, oh, guess what? We're moving from coursework to TPEs. I'm not thrilled with TPEs and TPAs. They're huge, but that's the K-12 system. We bridge to the K-12 system. That's a broader voice. It's just not the only one. Patty took something from each of those letters and made a great letter that she sent out to our district chancellor and all the big shots. And so it was like, hey, I'm on the district academic senate. So I grabbed the letter. I said, hey, can we make this into a resolution? Beautiful. So we built it into a resolution and gave it to the board, and they go, oh, well, yeah, we could be advocates. They don't know how to write a resolution, but guess who does? Patty, me.
I just used the combined letter that you guys wrote. I mean, the work that was done was like, okay, I can't improve upon this. I put me, mine. I wrote it from myself as a person. I do not represent my department, but you know, I think it was really powerful. I think that now the mentor program is going to be wanting to write a resolution, and I think Kate, as a Senate leader, you know, you've already created that resolution. So Linda Livenbaum wants to talk to you, and you know, there's just
I sent it to her.
So much collaboration possible, and you know, there's so much more visible.
One thing I'm thinking too, everybody, with CTC and the TPEs and the TPAs in early childhood, we need to get us there. We need to start looking at when positions are coming out, we need to look at people within our group that may want to either go to another organization, or we also have a lot of highly qualified adjunct faculty. I mean, look at Shoshanna. She's on multiple campuses, and maybe it's time for people like that to consider moving to CDE or CTC, because the more we can elevate our people to these other organizations, just think about the collaboration that can happen when we have our insiders become part of these other groups.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the changes that COVID will bring us is you may not have to move to Sacramento to do that, because I'm not moving to Sacramento. It's just not going to happen. That's my view.
That's the best thing is suddenly CTC and CDE, it's not like they have a couple people in the field of other places in California.
Right.
They can now extend their reach to every region because we are showing that we can work remotely as effectively, if not more effectively.
Yeah. Yep.
And cheaper for the state. Think about how much travel money we're all saving. Think about think about that side of it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, my husband just found out that his work is kicking him out of the office. They are now officially being deemed remote employees.
Really?
Because they've found that they are more effective when they're at home working than they would have been if they went into the office all the time.
Are they paying for their home office setups and all of that also?
They were already getting them set up for that kind of stuff. So like they all got to buy a new office chair. They all got their work computers. They already had a bunch of stuff, but like their office now, they have to go clean out where they actually worked. And the question is, what do we do with all this additional equipment? Because we have all this equipment now that nobody needs because we already have stuff at home.
Tell them to donate it to local schools.
That's what I said. And he said, but it's going to be repurposed in the company. And by the time it's going to like replace older models. And then by the time that those come in, they won't be good for schools anymore.
Yeah, the schools don't want that shit anyway. We're tired of that. We want the new stuff.
Yes.
I remember back in the day when I collected all computers from any companies and then I'd Jimmy rig them in my kindergarten classroom because I just wanted the kids to have access to keyboarding. Honestly, I just wanted them to have access to play around, to learn. It was a future tool. You know, back then it was so different. Now we expect 5-year-olds to be like, you know, fully word processing and all sorts of stuff. But
you know, what's that anyway? It's all.
I apologize, you guys. I'm going to have to get off the line too because we have the statewide TPP call coming up in 20 minutes, and I'm going to attempt to edit a press release before that.
All right.
All right. That meeting.
I'm sorry, what, Rachel?
You sent me the link to that meeting.
Of course, absolutely, absolutely.
All right. See you later.
Have a great
day. Bye, Renee.
Bye, Kate.
Bye, Rachel. Thanks a lot. It's working. It's working. Yeah. Yeah. Good. All righty.
Yay.